Fuzzy Mud by Louis Sachar. Chapter 26, Wednesday, November 3rd, 2:20 p.m. Timea was shaking as she took the juice box from her sack. Using her teeth, she tore the plastic wrapping away from the straw. Chad, still down on the ground like a wounded animal, rubbed his blistered hands over his arms to try to keep warm. "What are you doing?" he rasped. "Just hold on a sec," said Timea. She had to concentrate very hard to keep her hands steady as she punctured the juice box with the pointy end of the straw. "Okay, hold out your hand." She placed the juice box in his hand and felt a rush of revulsion as his fingers touched hers. She wiped her fingers on her skirt as she watched him fumble with the straw and then stick it between his swollen lips. Chad sucked up all the juice and continued to suck until the sides of the box collapsed inward. "You want a sandwich?" she offered. She removed the lid of the plastic container. It was peanut butter and jelly, with the crust removed. She thought about what Miss Latherley had said and almost laughed. "Gee, I hope you're not allergic," she thought. He sprang at her. She gasped as one hand slammed into her neck. His other hand grabbed her shoulder. She stumbled backward as he ripped the lunch sack from her hand. The sandwich fell to the dirt. Chad sat back down. He groped around inside the sack and pulled out a granola bar. "You didn't have to do that," she told him. "I was giving it to you." He tore off the wrapping, then ate the bar in 3 bites. "You're going to choke if you're not careful," she warned. "I know who you are," he said as he chewed the last of the bar. "You're Timea, Marshall's little friend." "So? I never said I wasn't." "You did this," he accused. "I've been thinking of all the things I'd do to you if I ever saw you again, and here you are." Timea bit her lip. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't know the mud would make you blind. Anyway, you shouldn't have been beating up Marshall. And you said you were going to beat me up next." "Don't think I wouldn't," said Chad, "just 'cause you're a girl." "The mud hurt me too," Timea told him. "My hand and arm are all covered in blisters, and maybe my face too. I don't know. There's something really bad in that mud." He took several deep, struggled breaths. "Is anyone else looking for me?" he asked. "Do they even know I'm gone?" "The whole school knows. Everyone thinks you joined a motorcycle gang or something." He made a noise that could have been a laugh. Timea looked at the sandwich lying on the ground between them. She wanted to pick it up, but was afraid to get too close to him. "The whole time I've been out here," he said, "I've just been thinking, no one knows, no one cares. Over and over in my head, no one knows, no one cares." "Well, your parents have to know," she pointed out. "Maybe. Like when you didn't show up for dinner or at bedtime?" "Yeah, right," Chad said. "Maybe when they came to tuck me in and read me a bedtime story?" He made that same distorted laughing sound again, which quickly degenerated into a retching cough. Timea worried he was going to throw up. The coughing stopped, and Chad took several short, quick breaths. "What else you got in here?" he asked, holding up her lunch sack. "My sandwich is on the ground," she told him. "I'll get it for you if you promise not to jump at me again." He said nothing. She cautiously moved closer, keeping her eyes on him. The 2 halves had been sliced diagonally. She bent over and quickly picked up one half and then the other. He remained where he was. She shook off the dirt the best she could. "Okay, I'm going to hand it to you now. You don't have to grab it." She held out one half of the sandwich. He reached up, then grabbed her by the wrist hard. She didn't make a sound. He twisted her wrist as he took the half sandwich from her. "Why are you so mean?" she asked. He took a bite and then another without finishing the first. He continued to chew. She could tell he was having trouble swallowing. "Sorry, there's nothing more to drink," she said. "There's some sliced fruit in the sack." He dug around in her lunch sack and got the plastic container. He grimaced as he swallowed the last of his mouthful. "This?" She watched him fumble with the lid. "You're going to spill it," she warned, and quickly stepped up and took it from him. He let her. She removed the lid and handed it back to him. "Apples and pears." He ate a slice of fruit, savoring its wetness. He took another bite of the sandwich, smaller this time, then another slice of fruit. "The jam is homemade," she said, filling the silence. "From real strawberries. It has less sugar than the kind you get in the store. My mom made it." She didn't know why she was telling him this. She felt stupid. "It's good," Chad said to her surprise. When he finished his half sandwich, she gave him the other half. "Can you see it all?" she asked. "Only up real close, like just before I smack into something. I can tell something's there, and then bam!" He made the same laughing noise. He ate a small bite of the sandwich, followed by a slice of pear. "You must have been really cold," she said. "Did you sleep at all?" "Who are you, my mother?" "Sorry for caring," she said. "I bet you and your family have dinner together every night, don't you?" It was more of an accusation than a question. She answered anyway. "Just me and my mom, if she's not working too late. My parents are divorced. I don't have any brothers or sisters. My dad lives in Philadelphia." "Does she read you bedtime stories too?" he asked. Another accusation. "Sometimes we take turns reading to each other. She likes to keep up with what I'm doing at school." She waited for him to say something, to mock her, but he didn't say anything. He ate the last slice of fruit, then licked the bottom of the container, trying to get every last drop of liquid. He let her take the empty sack from him. She gathered up the containers and bits of trash and put them all back inside the sack. She was no litter bug. "No one knows, no one cares," Chad muttered. 2 times 4,194,304 equals 8,388,608. 2 times 8,388,608 equals 16,777,216. Chapter 27, Wednesday, November 3rd, 2:41 p.m. Marshall banged a stick against one tree, then another. He was wandering aimlessly through the woods. He broke the stick in half and flung the halves in opposite directions. He didn't know why he did that. He didn't know why he did anything anymore. He didn't know why he hadn't told Mrs. Thaxton the truth. He didn't know why he'd snuck out of school. He didn't know why he'd returned to the woods. It certainly wasn't to look for Timea. If she wanted to go searching for Chad, that was her problem. Mostly, he just needed to get away from Mrs. Thaxton, away from his teachers, away from everybody. If he could have gotten away from himself, he would have done that too. Nothing made sense anymore. Timea should have been glad that Chad wasn't in school, and Mrs. Thaxton acted like Chad was some kind of star pupil. "Did anyone see Chad yesterday? Did you talk to him? What did he say? Where was he going?" "He was going to beat me up," Marshall thought, kicking leaves. "That's where he was going." What was he supposed to do, meet Chad on Richmond Road so he could get the snot beat out of him? Would that have made everybody happy? He kicked a rock, then walked quickly after it, picking it up, and threw it as far as he could. "Chad's been picking on Marshall all year," Andy said, "for no reason." They all knew. Andy, Laura, Cody, everybody. So why didn't anyone do anything? Why hadn't they stuck up for him? Why had they let Chad make his life so miserable, day after day after day? But that wasn't the real question, and he knew it. The real question was this: why hadn't he stuck up for himself? And he knew the answer to that too, because he was a coward, like Chad had said, a thumb-sucking coward. If Laura thought Chad was mean, then what did she think of Marshall? Nothing. He was just a bug that Chad stepped on. He thought about the way Timea used to look up to him like he was her hero, some hero. When it came down to it, she was the one who protected him. She'd smashed the mud into Chad's face, and now she was out searching for Chad because he had been too scared to tell Mrs. Thaxton the truth. He wondered if Timea could possibly be right about the mud. It didn't seem possible. Somebody would have put up a warning sign or something. She probably just touched some weird kind of poison ivy. He stopped. Just ahead, some kind of animal was crouched atop a dead tree trunk, ready to pounce. Keeping his eye on it, he slowly bent down and picked up a rock. The sun, shining through the treetops, caused a crisscross of shadows and light over the creature, making it difficult to tell exactly what it was. Possibly a raccoon, or maybe a badger, he thought, although he wasn't sure he knew exactly what a badger looked like. It appeared to be snarling, whatever it was. Since it was out during the day, it might be Rabbit. He rolled the rock over in his hand. "Hey!" he shouted. It didn't move. He threw the rock toward it, hoping to scare it away. The rock bounced off the tree trunk, and the animal still didn't move. Marshall picked up another rock and took a few steps closer. "Go away!" he shouted, then took a few more steps. Maybe it wasn't snarling. He boldly took another step. Maybe it wasn't alive. He moved closer. Maybe it wasn't an animal at all, but just somebody's mud-soaked sweater. He almost laughed. Now I'm even afraid of sweaters. Beneath the mud, he could see the maroon color and the partially obscured words, virtue and valor. He realized whose sweater it was. On the other side of the tree trunk was a large puddle of dark mud covered in a fuzzy scum. He saw a mud-covered sneaker and a rolled-up white sock, also splattered with the mud. The sock did it. Something retched inside him. All his feelings of shame, self-pity, and self-hatred vanished. He was no longer thinking about himself at all. "This is really bad," he said aloud.